All right, let's go. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm beginning to feel that all the blood-guzzling, Satan-worshipping pedophiles who rule our country may not have our best interests at heart.
Yes, we're still talking about your fucking pedo pizza ring. Every fucking politician in our fucking country seem to be all implicated in, like we're just all supposed to think it's normal for our government to sometimes diddle little kids.
I'm basically clicking on Grok for every post. Like, is this true? And Grok's like, yeah, there really was an email where a little girl said Jesus makes her feel safe when she's in bed, and they did something terrible to her. The Epstein cover-up is beginning to make Watergate appear trivial by contrast. And see, my feelings on this are basically twofold. First, we have to remember that Jeffrey was merely an employee. He wasn't the boss.
It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you.
And second, it's absolutely impossible right now to go through all the information to discern what's genuinely accurate.
The day before Jeffrey Epstein died, there was a DOJ document announcing his death. Newly released DOJ documents show that they had a draft announcement already made on August 9th of 2019 announcing his death. The draft letter from August 9th, the day before he was found dead, says the manner in which he died.
In an email from 2014, the CEO of Barclays, Jez Staley, laughs with Epstein that the masses are busy with bread and circuses instead of overthrowing the financial elite. I'm not kidding. He says, you want to know why we're not Sao Paulo? There's not massive riots? Watch the TV ads on the Super Bowl. It's all about hip blacks in hip cars with white women. The group that should be in the streets has been bought off by Jay-Z.
Oh, hi, Pam Bondi. What are you doing with Keith Frankel? Why was Keith Frankel and Jeffrey Epstein talking about body boxes on February 10th, 2010? If Jeffrey Epstein was such a monster, Pam, how come Keith went to his house so many times?
And check this out. Did Epstein genuinely get Gary Gensler to prosecute Ripple while Bitcoin and Ethereum roamed free? It emerges apparent Epstein recruited Gary Gensler and Jay Clayton to keep Ripple caught up in a 5-year litigation and distance it from Bitcoin and ETH. You can notice in this email that it speaks the silent section out loud. Austin Hill acknowledges Ripple and Stellar were a danger to their environment, implying the old power circle desired control, not freedom. Gary Gensler was evidently networking in Epstein circles years before taking office, which was followed by the XRP lawsuit.
Hillary Clinton told me that I dedicated my life to cryptography. Boy, was she wrong. Now I am left with a shame name and a booty hole that is quite stretched out.
Rumors are already emerging surrounding Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, claiming some unusual connections. Lutnick escaped 9/11 because he was at his son's kindergarten function instead being at the office. He happened to be Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor. He reportedly lied about terminating connections with Epstein in 2005, and he visited Epstein's island with his 4 kids in 2012. I don't believe I've been this perplexed since the time I spent 30 minutes pondering why Kid Rock looked like 1987 Don Mattingly playing the part of Eazy-E. The entire thing is more confounding than if neither hole is pink and they both stink. It seems like, for now, this is the only information we can definitely trust for sure.
2 corrupt dumb bitches.
If nothing happens over this Epstein stuff, you may as well give up on politics. If the fact that we now have confirmation that what the conspiracy theorists have been saying for years is true, that Pizzagate is real, and that there's no such thing as left and right, there's no such thing as a sovereign nation, there's just ultra-wealthy people exploiting the poor to the point where they can get little girls and do whatever they want to them on an island, and all the evidence of it can exist, and instead of there being any repercussion at all, it's going to be discussed a little bit by a few people on Twitter, and they're going to continue doing exactly as they did before. If nothing happens over this Epstein stuff, if there's no mass raids, mass arrests, mass public trials, you may as well just give up on politics. May as well just give up. The system is so rotten, it's never going to be fixed. Even transparency isn't fixing any of this stuff.
The only thing we know with 100% sure is that this isn't going away anytime soon, and given what we're witnessing right now, we may be merely scraping the surface. Take a look at this. The web is ready for comprehensive AI analysis of all the Epstein files, and it's wild. Ian Carroll has purportedly designed an AI program particularly for the Epstein archives, letting you to search for anything. The dataset comprises solely the Epstein files, so you won't receive any outside noise or comments. This is going to enable individuals to connect the connections and locate knowledge at lightning speed. So maybe this can be the subject that unifies our nation, since I know we can all agree on one thing.
Burn every motherfucker on the Epstein list. Republican or Democrat, oh, I don't give a shit. You can bet your bottom dollar they will not be missed. Burn every motherfucker that's on that Epstein list.
We start with new revelations in the Epstein files, and it really helps explain why powerful persons keep striving to persuade the public to continue on. You'll hear Caroline Leavitt a little while later in the program say we're moving on from this subject. Well, fantastic for you, Caroline, but we aren't. Members of Congress were finally authorized to examine at unredacted Justice Department records relating Jeffrey Epstein. Not all of them, not even most of them, actually just a percentage. And even with that very restricted access, we already have new, highly important worries about what is being kept and why. Lawmakers from both parties virtually soon stated they identified the names of persons likely implicated in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes whose identities had been disguised by Justice Department redactions. We heard from Republican Thomas Massie and Democrat Ro Khanna, both of whom helped battle for access to these materials in the first place. They said that after just a few hours spent analyzing some of the millions of data, they identified 6 individuals whose names had been blacked out. 6 men in a couple of hours. At least one is apparently an American citizen. Another is a foreign national. One is described as a noteworthy individual. Another is tied to a foreign government. These are not tiny details that were hidden in the redacted versions of the files. This increases the likelihood that redactions may have been deployed purposely to protect powerful individuals rather than to defend victims, which, my gosh, is exactly what we've been arguing all along. The issue was that we were taught redactions were strictly for the purpose of shielding victims or those who are not guilty or probably not guilty of anything. Now, one of the most worrisome pieces in these recent finds contains an email connected to a foreign business figure labeled in reporting as a sultan, whose association with Jeffrey Epstein was recognized, but had not been fully reported. According to what's being published from the archives, one email addressed a torture film delivered to Epstein. We don't know the complete background at this time. We don't know the details of the video. But the fact that stuff like this existed in the archives and were deleted is itself alarming. You don't have to judge if torture is literal or a euphemism. The fact that it was previously withheld is the scandal. It prompts an obvious question: who benefits from these redactions? There's another revelation that kind of resets the entire moral severity of the issue. Congressman Jamie Raskin alleges the data he analyzed indicate victims as young as 15, 14, 10, and, in at least one instance, a 9-year-old. This underlines what survivors and investigators have asserted for years, that the Epstein operation was deliberate, large-scale, and definitely involved more individuals than have ever been publicly acknowledged. There's also a potentially enormous political influence. Raskin alleges he saw an email indicating a conversation between Epstein's attorneys and Donald Trump's lawyers around the time of the 2009 Florida inquiry into Epstein. According to Raskin's interpretation, the email showed Epstein was not a member of Trump's Mar-a-Lago club, but was a visiting and had not been asked to leave. One of the primary falsehoods Trump asserted was that as soon as he found out what was going on, he asked Epstein to leave. We then learned that seems Trump forced him to depart, not because of what was going on, but because Epstein purportedly took an employee from Trump's spa to work for him. Now, the next revelation is that Epstein wasn't even a member who was urged not to renew. He was merely a guest. So that entire tale may be totally wrong and would contradict numerous of Donald Trump's allegations. The larger news, I suppose, is the redactions themselves. Some MPs are questioning why influential individuals appear to have been shielded, since the statute is supposed to protect victims, not significant associates of Epstein. Congress still has access to only under half of the full Epstein files. The review method is strictly watched. Lawmakers have to offer prior notice, study documents in person, cannot carry technological gadgets, and can only take handwritten notes. That is not what most people picture when they say there would be great, never-before-seen transparency. This story is now considerably larger than Epstein as a person. It's about who controls information when powerful people are involved and when institutions pick what the public gets to see and when they're supposed to stop asking questions. That's how massive abuse tales frequently stay buried, when persons in charge safeguard other powerful people who are potential or suspected offenders. Right now, we're having bipartisan accusations from members in both parties that names were withheld, that the abuse was substantially worse than publicly acknowledged, and that important periods involving significant persons contradict official pronouncements. We're not obtaining closure. We're getting more questions, and only half of the picture. Later, we'll hear from Caroline Leavitt, who has determined the tale is ended. We have something to say about it, but first, one of Trump's cronies was confronted about this, and we're going to talk about it next. Thanks for watching. Check out this other video, and if you love our work, be sure to subscribe so YouTube promotes our videos in your stream.